So I prepared these the these and all of this, like basically I prepared all of these. Hi guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you're all doing fine. And for the GKS undergraduate program aspirants, I hope you've all prepared well, you've arranged your documents in accordance with the guidelines, and also you have labeled your documents properly, you have done everything you're supposed to do properly. And I wish all of you applying this year the very best, whether you're applying via university or you're applying via embassy track. I wish you guys the very best, and I hope that all your hard work which you've put in will not be in vain, and at the end of the day you'll also be able to enjoy the opportunities and also the experience that comes with the Global Career Scholarship Program. Okay, so for today's video, what I am going to be talking about is the interview, because that's like the next step after you're done with what they call it. After you've submitted your documents, the next thing is people will get shortlisted. And well, I'm talking for the embassy track, sorry. People will get shortlisted, and after they have been shortlisted, they will be interviewed at the Korean Cultural Center in Abuja. And after the interview, the person or those that get selected will be emailed individually. It won't be posted on the Instagram handle as they would when they select when they've shortlisted people. So yes, in today's video I'm going to read out some interview questions and also try to explain how the interview stage usually looks like, or what it is like, or what you should be anticipating when you get into that place or into that room, whatever you might want to call it. So for the interview is usually conducted at the Korean Cultural Center, Nigeria, in Abuja at Rivers House. If you don't know, is at Rivers House, Central District area of Abuja. And usually for the interview, there are usually Koreans and also Nigerians who would be the panelists for deciding if you meet the criteria or if you meet what they are looking out for. For the graduates program, there were two Nigerians, one woman and one man, and then two Koreans, the director of Korean Cultural Center Nigeria and one other Korean. So there were 4 persons in total we had at the interview. And the interview is done individually, which means everybody goes in and then they have your documents which you submitted in front of them, and they ask you questions based on your documents, and you have to answer those questions. That is why I have been telling people that please write what you think or what you know you'll be able to defend. So because the questions they're going to ask you are based on what you've presented, that's your documentations, what you've written in your personal statement, your study plan. Your interview questions are going to be based off of that mainly. So you should know exactly what you're writing, and you should prepare well for the interview. So every person goes in individually. There's usually a list, and on the list, when you come in, please go on time, be early, and dress appropriate, because even your appearance matters. There's usually a list. When you get to the Korean Cultural Center, you sign against your name, and when you do, you have to sit at like the lounge area and wait until you're called upon. So they call you according to the number on the list. So if you go to sign against your name, maybe you can look at like what number you signed against, so that you know whether you're going to be the first person to go in for the interview or the second, the third, but just to prepare yourself so that you know that, oh, after this person is me or something like that. So usually there's like a little bit, or there is actually tension because you're nervous. You don't know what kind of question you get asked. You don't know how the persons in there might like be towards you. Are they going to ask you questions like, or are they going to ask questions in a very nice way and all of that? So it is always better to like first of all like prepare your mind towards your interview. Practice the questions or possible answers to possible questions because you don't know the exact questions you might get asked, and try to do whatever you can to make yourself less tensed, and just try to be calm. Because I remember my interview, there was a lady that sat next to me, and I think when it was almost her time, that's when she started praying and I'm like, why is she doing that? Like, are you trying to make other people tense as well? Like, you should have prayed at home. You should have done this whole praying thing at home before coming. I mean, you can pray there, but why not do it quietly or calmly? Do you have to like and be shaking and making other people nervous as well? I don't know, but please don't be that person. That's even something, that's even a situation that will make you yourself even tense. So prepare well at home, pray well at home, calm yourself as much as you can before you get to that interview, because being nervous will make you confused. Being nervous will make you forget your lines. Being nervous will make you forget what you practiced or you wanted to say. Being nervous will just put you out of place. So please do well to prepare, calm yourself, and all the preparation you can and you want to do at home before going to the Korean Cultural Center for your interview. Now I'm going to share like possible questions I prepared. These questions were prepared based on what I wrote in my personal statement and what I felt would be asked based on what I have written in my personal statement, and also based on other scholars experience, other scholars who said this was what I was asked, this was what I was asked. I had to like watch a lot of other scholars videos on YouTube and then put the questions together, compile them including my own, and then try to make possible questions that I might get asked. Even though I was asked like just 4 questions, it is better to always like have a lot, to always have like always know like a lot of answers, or prepare your mind towards like a lot of things, so that even if they ask you this, you'll be like, oh, even if you can't give like the exact answer, you make an attempt towards it, or how to approach them, or how to answer these kind of questions. So I think the most common question is usually tell us about yourself or introduce yourself or something like that. And when you're being asked to introduce yourself, it's not like for you to talk about, I am 22 years old, my family is this, my dad does that, my parents. When they say talk about yourself or tell us about yourself or introduce yourself, you're basically supposed to talk about yourself as in your name, and then your educational background or your career background. Talk about professional things in line with the GKS application, which is things in line with your education, things in line with your career, if you have had work experiences before, things in line with like your extracurricular activities, like what you enjoy doing during your free time. Talk about yourself in a professional perspective and not just random things that do not make sense or are not relevant to your application. And then I think another common question they usually ask, another common question I know, another question is, why are you interested in Korea? That's another common question. So I'm going to outline 4 or 5 common questions, and then I'll read my questions as well. Another common question would be, why are you interested in Korea? Because if you're applying to study in Korea, you must have had, or you must have an interest as to why you've chosen the country or why you're sending an application to the country. So you should know, you should have a valuable answer to this. And please, as much as possible, try to avoid saying things that are not valuable or not relevant to your application. Even though you have interest in Korea because of like the entertainment industry, even though you have interest in Korea because of, well, when I say the entertainment industry, I mean like because of K-pop and K-drama. Those are cliche things. Literally everybody says that, everybody knows that that's why Korea is prominent, because of its media. However, you should talk about other things that are relevant, other things that are unique and related to whatever course or whatever you're going to do in South Korea. For example, if you say you want to study media and communication in South Korea, then you should be talking about Korea's media having an influence on your decision to want to study in Korea, Korea's broadcast stations, the standard of the broadcast stations, the standard of their news reporters, the standard of their news media houses. You should be talking about things like that, and not oh, because I enjoy watching K-dramas and I want to see the actors in person. You know, that can be something you will do when you get to Korea, but during the course of your interview, try to give a professional, valuable, reasonable response as to why you want to study in Korea. If you're someone who is going to study in Korea for, let's say, movie and something and theater, then you can talk about Korean movies having an influence over your decision to want to study in Korea, but do not say K-dramas. Try to explain it more in depth. Try to make more sense. Maybe you can even pick a director and give a scenario. Oh, this director is like one of the best directors. All his movies are like this, and it's always captivating for me, and that is why I want to go there, so that I can have first-hand experience in the various industries or in the various media houses or production houses, stuff like that. So do not be vague about your response as to why you want to study in Korea, but be in-depth about it. So even if you want to study music, don't just say K-pop. When you say K-pop, try to explain, or even explain before you add K-pop at the end of the day. So try to be professional about your response as to why you want to study in Korea. For people who choose like particular universities, if you're interviewed by your university at the end of the day, your university might ask you like, why did you choose this university? So you should also have like a valuable answer. Don't say because the university is popular and my family and friends have gone there, so I want to go there too. No, don't do that, please. Say something. Talk about the department, talk about the professor, talk about the research work which you intend to go into, talk about the labs, talk about things that are relevant and valuable that you think would make sense. And then okay, sometimes they ask questions like what you intend to do after your studies in Korea, like what do you plan on doing. You see, that question, I think, yes, I believe comes from your personal statement, because even in your personal statement they usually ask you to talk about your future plans after studies in Korea. That is why I said you should write, and I'm emphasizing, write things that you know and you have them at the back of your mind. Don't get there and then they ask you, okay, what do you intend to do after your studies in Korea? And then you start saying things that are not in line with your personal statement. Remember that these people have your documents right in front of them, and as you're talking, they are looking at you and they are looking at your documents. And if you begin to say things that do not tally, I don't know, but try to write things you know you'll be able to defend, and try to write things that you know that are relevant. So when they ask you to tell them what you intend to do after your program in South Korea, then you should have a valuable response to that. Another common question is, how do you intend to adapt to the changes when you get to Korea? Because considering that it is not a country, well, for some persons they might have visited Korea before, but if you have never visited Korea before, you can say things like, oh, I have never visited Korea before, but because I've been exposed to the culture or the language through the media. Or if you're someone who has been visiting the Korean Cultural Center and participating in activities, you can also say, oh, back here in Nigeria, I usually visit the Korean Cultural Center. I've tried the activities, I've tried their cultural dishes, I've done this, I've done that. So when I move to Korea, it won't be difficult for me to adapt to the changes. However, if you're somebody who have not had these experiences, you can equally talk about like other relevant experience which you've had. Maybe for example, if you've lived in a different state before, you can talk about, oh, even in Nigeria I lived in a different state, a different culture, a different group of people, a different community, and I was able to adapt to that community. I was able to adjust to the language, the food, even though it was something I was not conversant with. I was able to adjust to it. So you can relate this scenario to, if I get to Korea, I've had this experience of living in an environment that I wasn't familiar with. So if I get to Korea, I'll be able to adapt easily, or I'll try to adjust and adapt. Just give relevant explanation to how you intend to adjust over time while living in South Korea. I think another common question is like, if you undergo, or if you experience stress, how do you intend to manage stress? How do you intend to manage like deadlines if you do not have like enough time to prepare for things or your studies or your assignments? I'll just try to quickly go through the questions I prepared, and I also recommend watching like other scholars their YouTube videos regarding their questions which they were asked, because you can find relevant questions from there and also add to what you already have. So for me, I wrote some questions like, tell us about your future plans, and then against it I wrote the answer. What made you apply for this program? That's the Global Career Scholarship Program. Why South Korea? Why did you learn about, how did you learn about GKS? How much are you aware of GKS program regarding its purpose, background, condition, and benefits? You should note this clearly because it is stated in the guidelines, the GKS guideline, the objective. Please read the objective. It's stated there. Have you ever been exposed to Korean culture such as food, K-friends, K-pop, beauty, blah blah blah? I already explained how to go about answering this. If you have experienced it through the media, you can also talk about it. If you have at the Korean Culture Center or other events, you can also talk about it. And then how will you cope with difficulties and inconveniences that might happen when you're living in Korea? You should be able to also answer this. I think I already gave like an example situation of if you've lived outside of your own community or your city or your hometown. You can try to give this as a scenario where, oh, because I was able to live away from home, different community, different people, I was able to adapt, and I think I'll be able to implicate that when I move to South Korea, or if given the opportunity. What are your strengths and your weaknesses? Some of these questions might be for like interview, and then if you could change one, no, please. How did you handle conflict? How do you handle conflict involving co-workers? Sometimes they usually ask this question to to university track applicants, because they want to know how you'll be able to handle situations like this, given that you'll be schooling in a place with people from different social cultural background. So if you ever encounter any problem with them, how do you intend to handle such conflicts? And then what do you usually do in your free time when you're asked this question at the university, through the university track or possibly the embassy track? Try to talk about things like I study, or I read, or I group study with friends, or I spend time resting, or I spend time with friends, like, but in a very reasonable way, not anyhow. Let's suppose your professor asks you to complete something on a very short notice, and most likely you won't be able to finish the given task on time. How would you handle this situation? A situation like this, you can either respond by saying, is that you ask the professor for time extension, and if the professor does not agree to give a time extension, you're going to prioritize that task and be able to complete it within the given period of time, and don't say, I do not know. you should always have an answer to a question thrown at you. And then is there anything you'd like to tell us? If you're asked this question at the university or embassy track, you should try to say things like you appreciate the opportunity given to you to apply for the program. And then if you have any question that you're curious about, like the if it's the university track, you can ask them anything like, oh, does your university provide such things for GK scholars, or like things you want to know about the university, then you can ask it to them. And then okay, I basically wrote answers to my questions. Okay, why are you so interested in Korea? I've already said that. Let me see. What will be the biggest issue you will face when you're in Korea? If you're being asked this question, just prepare for an answer. Probably your own issue could be that you will miss home. But however, when you respond with the issue that you have, then you should also have a backup like solution for it. So for example, if you say, oh, I think the biggest issue I will have is like missing home, then your solution to it should be that, however, I would often call home, or I'll often communicate via video calls and what video calls and phone calls, and also even after the language program, I believe you have an opportunity to visit your family, so you can actually say that as well after the language program. But if you're unsure of it, just simply stick to giving a relevant solution to your question. And then if you're asked why the university, then you should be able to talk about the university well enough. So I would recommend you highly research about your university. Go through their website, read all you can read, know all you may need to know about the university. If you're asked this question at the embassy track, then you have to talk about 3 different universities. You say, oh, I chose university A because of its this, that. I chose university B because of A, B, C, D. I chose university C because of this, that. So you need to know relevant things about the respective universities and why you have chosen them. What do you know about Korea? If you're asked this question, then you should be able to elaborate beyond K-drama and K-pop. You should be able to talk about like maybe the fast growing economy of South Korea, how they were very poor before, they had little, but over time they've been able to grow, and also other relevant things about their technology, about their their economy, their technology, their agriculture, like other things aside K-pop and K-drama. And then YGKS, I think I mentioned that already. What do you think about Korea? Korea is a beautiful place. And then okay, those are my questions, like my own questions. And then what other question? Okay, why do you think you're a better candidate if you're asked this question? I think I'm a better candidate because of like my academic background, my exposure, my knowledge and stuff like that. And if you're asked this question, you basically have to sell yourself. You have to highlight like very, very key things about yourself, because you do not know what other applicants have in their application. You don't know if their application is better than yours. So basically you have to talk about key things about yourself. You have to talk about prominent things. You have to talk about things that are unique, peculiar to yourself, that will make you stand out in the application. So don't say irrelevant things, but say relevant things, like why you think you're a better candidate than other applicants. Okay, I've also talked about why the universities and stuff like that. So I'm going to state out the questions I was asked, and then I'm going to read the questions I had prepared and probably their responses. So for my interview, I was asked 4 questions, and not everybody's questions usually tally, because we all, or everybody has like different applications. They all have different things written in their personal statements and also their certificates and awards may not tally. So your question is based off of your documents which you've submitted, and some questions could be general questions like, why did you choose Korea, introduce yourself, and your future plan. Those are like common questions. For me, I am going to study international relations. So during the course of my interview, I was asked to introduce myself. I was asked to talk about things I know about Korea. And when they asked me this question, the man went on to like explain to me that if I talk about this, I should talk about Korea in terms of its religion, in terms of geographical location, and things like that. Because for someone who's going to study international relations, I am expected to know at least basic things like that. So I spoke about the Korean War from 1950 to 1953. I spoke about the peninsula of Korea and how Korea and South Korea and North Korea got divided due to the war. Like the country being located in Asia, because I don't even know why he asked me, but he asked me where is Korea located, and I'm like, in Asia, and stuff like that. So if you're going to study a particular course, you should be expecting questions from like your field of study or areas concerning your field of study. And then I was also asked, if I move to Korea, how will I be able to adapt or adjust to the food and the food, because considering that like we have two different kind of cuisines and stuff like that. So I told the lady that fortunately for me, I've been able to experience like Korean cuisine and Korean food, and also Korean products and other aspects of Korea through the Korean Cultural Center in Abuja, because I usually visit there from time to time, and I participate in events, and I also like have prepared like Korean dishes myself, and I've tried them and enjoyed them with family at home. So I think that was a good response to that question. Thank you, Korean Cultural Center Nigeria. And what other question? Yeah, and then the Korean asked me, why did you choose Korea? And I told him I chose Korea because of the fast developing economy, and I feel like Korea is going to be a better place to study international relations, considering that they have like global businesses establishing there, and also the multicultural and international foundation of South Korea, stuff like that. So what else was I asked? Okay, and then the fourth person was supposed to ask me a question. So he did not ask me a question. He said he was satisfied with like the questions they had asked me. So that was it for my interview. However, for preparations, I prepared. These were the things I prepared. I prepared number one, introduce yourself in case I am asked, which I was asked. Number two, what do you know about Korea was one thing I prepared, which I was asked. See, this was how I wrote it. Can you guys see? What do you know about Korea? And I was not even sure. Like, I just wrote things and I left spaces because I was like, when I don't know, but I might fill them up. And coincidentally, I got asked that question. I was also asked, I also prepared why Korea, and then I had an answer to it, which I was also asked. Okay, and then I also wrote, what will be the biggest issue you will face in Korea if you come there? And then I also prepared, why do you think you're a better candidate? Which I had like an answer for. Like, these were my prepared questions. And then number 6, why GKS? I was not asked, but I had prepared it in case I am asked. And then why the universities? For me, my universities, none of them interviewed me, well, except Sunmoon, and Sunmoon's interview was like a written interview, so I had to like write and send back to them. However, I prepared why the universities, and I wrote, prior to my application, I made research, this university is this, that one is that, blah blah blah, but I was not asked. So YGKS, okay, I wrote this twice. And then also I prepared future plan, and then based on my personal statement, I had written an answer what I intend to do like after my studies in Korea. And what else? Yes, so I had prepared 8, 9 possible questions, but I was asked for 3 questions during my interview. So yes, for myself, I had prepared 8, 9 possible questions, but like I prepared other questions that I might be asked, which I was not asked any at all. So it's good to like prepare like broad. Just prepare broadly, because you don't know what you might get asked, especially for people applying to the yeah, both ends though, the university track. You need to know things about the universities properly. The embassy track, you need to know things about the course which you're going to study, and also the universities which you've chosen, and stuff like that. So overall, over prepare for your interview and don't under prepare for your interview. Like prepare like you're preparing for an exam. Remember that it is basically a competition, and out of many few will be selected. So prepare with all your mind and all your might for your interview. If you're not sure of like response to possible questions which you might draft out, you can also use chat gpt to like GPT to like check out like possible answers. That's questions that are not related to your personal statement or your study plan, because for questions that are related to your personal statement and study plan, it's basically you who has to like draft out responses for them. But questions that are not related to your personal statement or study plan, you can actually use AI or chat GPT to like find the answers to it. Because before I went in for the, like before I actually went inside the hall, not like before the interview, I think I showed you guys like the part where I wrote where is it, like what do you know about Korea. So I wrote things and I left space. This was based on my own knowledge, but I was not like very sure about what I was writing. So few minutes before I went in, I used chat GPT to like check tell me things, relevant things about Korea in terms of democracy, history, and other things like that. And it brought up like responses like the Korean War happened in 1950, this happened, that happened. So I had that at the back of my mind, and coincidentally, I got asked that question. So if you have possible questions but you do not have like possible answers, or you're uncertain about your answer, or you feel like your answer is not good enough, you can always use an AI to like elaborate more and then summarize it to your own understanding or to the best of your knowledge. Do not try to cram word for word, because if you cram word for word, you might flop, you might get nervous, you might try to remember the exact words, and you might fail to remember. So it is better to have an elaborate explanation or a summarized explanation to the best of your knowledge, and get there on time. So now get there on time and get seated so that you can be less nervous. Also try to know like your number before you go in, so that you know that, oh, after this person I'm the next person. Like you try to calm yourself more before you go in there. And what else? Dress appropriately, because if you're not dressed appropriately, you might not feel like comfortable. Well, I don't know about others, but if I am not dressed appropriately, I do not feel comfortable in my own skin or like what I'm wearing. So dress appropriately so that it's something you're comfortable in, and do not approach your interview with fright. Approach it with confidence rather than fright, because if you're frightened, you'll be nervous, you'll be worried, and possibly get people to help you like practice your interview session. Because remember, your interview is going to be like a one on four or one or three on three conversation. So it's you against like multiple eyes on you. So try to practice with someone to like build your confidence a little more, and try to like practice with someone to help you remember your responses to certain questions if you're being asked. You can have like a friend or someone by video call or anything and be like, okay, ask me these questions, and try to respond to them like you would with a panelist from the interview it panelist? With somebody that's going to interview you. So yes, I think these are like basic tips I can give for interview as well. But if you guys have any questions regarding like how to prepare for interviews, please leave your questions in the comment section, and I will try to respond to them, as many and as knowledgeable as I can. And also try to watch other GK scholars videos on interviews, so that you have like a vast knowledge of what to prepare for and how to prepare for your interview. And I wish you all the very best in your application, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye. See you in Korea soon.